Good evening, everybody, and welcome. As you may remember from the last meeting, or may not, I've decided not to have a chaplain this year, but I've asked a series of colleagues to say a few words that will encourage us to quiet reflection about our responsibilities before each council. And I'm very grateful that Councillor Strachan has agreed to start this off.
Thank you, Chair. I'll share it. Would you please bow your heads in prayer or reflection? At this time of great national change, we think of those elected to Parliament, to those newly in office, newly elected, and to those experienced members who may find themselves in unfamiliar positions. We reflect on their commitment and their duty to serve all, and to deal justly and fairly with all matters before them. We think of the civil service in all public bodies, including the officers of this council. We are grateful for their selfless service and their calm and dispassionate advice. And we pray for their fortitude in difficult situations, for their wisdom in solving problems, and for their compassion in dealing with all people. We remember the reasons why we ourselves sought election, and we reaffirm that commitment to serve the people, the charities, and the businesses of this district. We recommit ourselves to act not from self-interest, but in the public interest. We commit to act with integrity in all matters, not to act for personal gain or benefit, and not to fall under the influence of those who seek those gains. We commit to consider all matters before us fairly and on merit, and not to discriminate or be biased on any ground. We submit to scrutiny, both public and formal. We consent to be held accountable for our actions and to hold ourselves and each other to high standards. We shall make decisions openly and fairly. We shall be truthful and honest with ourselves and each other, and where we find dishonesty, we commit to challenge it. And we commit to lead on these principles of standards in public life, treating each other with respect and actively promoting the pursuit of justice. And we will uphold these principles in this meeting and in all the works of this council.
Thank you very much indeed. Right, we can sit down and start. Right, thank you all very much. Then we move to the formal agenda. Agenda item 1 is apologies for absence. Is that what you want me to?
Chair, it gives me great pleasure to submit apologies from Councillor Dave Robertson, MP. He's he would have been here tonight, of course, but he's otherwise engaged, and he may already have sworn his oath of allegiance or might be doing it just as we speak, but hopefully he'll catch us on YouTube too. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are there any other apologies for absence?
Thank you, Chair. Apologies have also been received from Councillor Benevicius, Evans, Leong, J. Smith, M. Wilcox, S. Wilcox, and Councillor Mears is running late.
Thank you very much.
No, sorry, I had my hand up for apologies. I didn't hear Councillor Joe Powell had apologised as well, please. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so yeah, we can move on to item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest for Councillor Cox?
Just as the county councillor on the health and scrutiny.
Thank you. That's oh, and Councillor, right, yeah, Sylvester Hall as well. So that's yeah. Yeah. Okay, item 11, is it, or 10? 11, I think, yeah. Okay, thank you. Agenda item 3 then is the minutes of the last meeting. Can I go through the minutes briefly? Routine things, re-election of the chair, chair's announcements, minutes of the planning committee, audit, page 4 of the papers, election of chairs, appointment to representatives outside bodies, temporary accommodation, 2050 strategy. There's a matter of private business that we'll confirm later. Are there any, can I take these minutes of the meeting held on the 24th of May as a correct record? Aye, thank you. So these minutes have been approved, no amendments. Now you'll have noticed that though I was accompanied by Councillor Strachan, I was otherwise alone on this platform because Councillor Holland has been promoted, transported to better things. And so we are electing a new vice chair of the council. So can I ask for nominations for the appointment of vice chair? Councillor Pullen and then Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And I'll find time later on in the agenda to say terribly nice things about Councillor Holland. But for now, it is my role to propose Councillor Keith Vernon as vice chair of this council. I've known Keith for around, well, at least a couple of years now. Keith absolutely puts the council and its functions before party, and I think that's a wonderful way of viewing the role of vice chair. I know that Keith would do a brilliant job as vice chair, and really happy to propose him for that role. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. I fortunately have known Keith a bit longer than 2 years, and I've seen how he conducts things, and I can conclude that he's very diligent and serious about the position, or any position that he may hold on representing his community. And I'm absolutely sure he'd represent the Lichfield district as a whole with that same vigour and attitude. So I'm delighted to second the nomination.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Councillor Andrew Rushton as the Vice Chair. Could I say a few words? Yeah, the reason I'm nominating and proposing Andrew for that role, he is passionate, articulate, hardworking, and more than hardworking, in his ward, he is collaborative. He has a really good relationship with the Conservative and the Labour councillor in his ward, and I know he would bring that spirit of collaboration to this role in this council. He also has his own mind. He's got lots of experience of working with committees. He's on the planning committee of this council, and outside of this council, he's had roles on committees within the Liberal Democrats. So Andrew, in my view, is extremely well suited to this role. And also, on a wider point, what a great message for this council to have a young person in a senior position, such a senior position in this council. It will show that this council is relevant to all people of all generations in this council. It will reinforce that message and hopefully will encourage other young people to come forward to serve in a council role in this council. So for those reasons, I have no hesitation in proposing Councillor Andrew Rushton for the position of Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. It's my pleasure to second that proposal. I don't know Andrew well. I've only known him over these past 12 months as a Lichfield District Councillor, but I'm particularly delighted that we have an opportunity to pass on to a new generation and would echo Councillor Ray's words about presenting a role model to our electors as well as within this council that we're cross-generational as well as consensual. Councillor Pullen referenced council before party. And I think, the way that we work together now is to aim to be as collegiate and consensual as possible. And by my seconding of Andrew as the Vice Chair of this council, I hope that's a clear demonstration that we want to work for the best interests of our residents rather than a partisan basis. So I have great pleasure in seconding Andrew. I just hope that the new Parliament will take lessons from Lichfield District Council, that Councillor Robertson will hopefully import to them that working together in a transparent and consensual way doesn't mean to say you always agree with everything, but you work together for the benefit of the people that you represent. Thanks, Chair.
I think then we can move to a vote. Take them in alphabetical order. So that is easy. Well, it's quite, yeah. So all those, it doesn't, as we know, it doesn't disadvantage people if they're at the bottom of in the alphabet. Councillor votes then in favour of Councillor Rushton as Vice Chair of this council. Me as well. Okay, thank you. All those in favour of Councillor Vernon? So, and what the first one was, what, 20? Yeah, yeah. Right, okay, then I can announce that Councillor Rushton has been elected as Vice Chair of the Council.
If he needs to, Chair. Chair first he needs to read the declaration of office and then we can.
You need to read the declaration of office.
I, Andrew Rushton, having been elected to the office of Vice Chair of Lichfield District Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. I undertake to be guided by the Lichfield District Council members' code of conduct in the performance of my functions in that office.
Let's hold up, right? You say a few words.
I'd like to just say thank you to everyone who voted for me and also for those who might have not. I would like to fulfill this duty to the best of my ability, regardless of how people voted. I want to represent the whole council. And I echo the words of Councillor Woodward when it comes to collaboration. being a young politician. It's not always easy. You do get people who doubt you, but I hope I'll be able to prove myself and that I can be a good voice for the young people of our district. So thank you for putting that trust in me. And thank you to Councillor Ray and Councillor Woodward for their kind comments.
Thank you very much. Lots of applause. And I think, is it Councillor Pullen who'd like to propose a vote of thanks to the outgoing Vice Chair?
Thank you, Chair. Before I move to that, can I congratulate Councillor Rushton on your position as Vice Chair, a genuine honour to be able to represent the district in that capacity, and congratulations. In terms of votes, thanks, Councillor Holland, who now joins me on my cabinet. I think Councillor Holland has been I think a stalwart of the community is probably an overused phrase, but Councillor Holland is in his role through the round table and both regionally or locally, regionally, nationally and internationally as well. If his constant Facebook updates of countries that he's visiting or anything to go by, tells me that not only has he served residents of Lichfield district, but also the community much further afield than just Lichfield, and a genuine honour to be able to have him serve as Vice Chair of this district. Again, a recurring theme I think that's coming up time and time again is being able to put the interests of this council and our residents above a political party. And I think Councillor Holland absolutely epitomised that in his execution of his duties as Vice Chair. And Chair, it gives me great pleasure to be able to thank Councillor Holland. Not sure if it's a promotion to my cabinet, if I'm honest with you, but I'm certainly feeling very grateful that I've got his expertise on my cabinet. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I don't know if we have a second. Could I perhaps say few? I'm also very, very grateful to Councillor Holland for his very good-natured support and his conscientious activity in what was an unusual situation, and I think we've worked very well together, and I wish him pretty well in the cabinet. But you know, as well as could be expected, yeah. Councillor Woodward.
Thank you, Chair. Can I also congratulate Councillor Rushton and Councillor Holland? I first met Councillor Holland at the count, and we had quite lengthy conversations during those long hours that votes were being counted last May. And we've developed a really positive relationship, except on social media, particularly Twitter, but we'll draw a veil over that. I mean, he's clearly a very able councillor, and he's also a very good within the community, representing his own ward. So congratulations, Councillor Holland. Don't worry, we'll be scrutinising you very, very carefully. Thank you.
And I don't know if Councillor Holland would like to respond with a few words.
Thank you, Chair. That sounded more like an obituary off everyone, but I'm looking forward to working with the cabinet and look forward to the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, right. Right. We move on then to agenda item 5, which, if you'll bear with me, will take a little longer than usual. I could mention briefly that Councillor Holland and I have been to a variety of civic and cultural events since the council last met. And I suppose for me, the standout would be the D-Day commemorations at the National Memorial Arboretum and also in Fradley earlier in June. And we've been carrying out our duties. But I wanted to make, as you will know, a more somber announcement. As you'll know, one of my predecessors as chair and a very long-serving councillor died earlier this month. Councillor Doris English served St John's Ward from 1992 to 2011. She was the chair of the Employment Committee and of the council itself between 2005 and 2006. She also, as some of us know, held senior civic offices in the city of Lichfield too. She had a long and fulfilled life, and I think when I was mayor, she attended an event not earlier this year in the city. And so I'd ask for a minute's silence in memory of that long-serving, long and fulfilled life. And then I'll invite councillors who want to say a few words about her. Right, thank you very much. And Councillor Pullen and Councillor Cox and Councillor Woodward. Yeah, Councillor Pullen and Councillor Ray. Yeah, Councillor Pullen then.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be very brief to make time for other councillors who will no doubt remember Councillor English far better than I, seeing that she was no longer a district councillor when I joined this council. But I do remember Councillor English from many different social functions as I met her, and remember her warmth, her very quick wit, which I don't think she ever lost. And also just reflecting on the roles that you mentioned, Chair, I think any citizen who serves as mayor and chair and sheriff and a councillor for such a long and sustained period of time demands our respect from across this chamber, and so it is with Councillor English. I did do a little bit of Googling today to read a few more stories about Councillor English, and just wanted to share the one slightly amusing story that I thought had come up about Councillor English is that she was, I think, possibly the only councillor ever to warn of the dangers of hit and runs by mobility scooters in Lichfield district, and a very lengthy number of articles about this impending danger that Councillor English pointed out to us, and maybe something we need to watch out for, Councillor Sylvester Hall and the pedestrianisation. Who knows? But I thought, what a wonderful, warm, quick-witted individual who was an absolutely dedicated public servant. Yeah, and thank you, Chair, for allowing us to remember her this evening.
Thank you. I think I saw Councillor Cox next.
Thank you, Chair. Doris was very much one of the very first people that really engaged with me when I was first elected in 2003. I think in terms of the room, I know there was Steve that was around and Tom behind me, but everybody else, and Sue, sorry, my apology. I didn't think you were on that yet. But if I recall right, and I might be wrong, when she was nominated to be chair of the council, I think it's the first time and only time I've seen the chamber vote for her to be a chair of this council. And to me, that says everything that we need to know about Doris. Doris connected with everybody. And I certainly recall a time where I don't know where she'd heard it from, but she certainly found out what my nickname down was at the hockey club, and from there on she was always calling me Coxie, and it stuck. And actually that was nice because it broke down those stiffy stigma situation within our job that we sometimes face ourselves in. So Doris was instrumental to me here, and it's very sad but she had a very long life, which she put a lot into. She never gave up representing her community. And yeah, I've been at functions, even in the last few years, where you just got that little reminder. Just remember who you represent and what you are doing. And that again was the epitome of Doris English. God rest her soul.
Thank you. Councillor Woodward.
Thanks, Chair. In sending condolences to Doris's friends and family, can I also pay tribute? Doris was a warm, humorous, witty person, and I'm sure we've all had that sort of sideways wink from Doris in the past when she was being particularly waspish. She was always open to discussions. There was nothing partisan about her, and perhaps she was a role model for the sort of council we are now, in that sort of consensual way of working. I was really quite shocked, even though she may have had a long life. I was quite shocked to hear of her passing, and I think public life is perhaps slightly the worst for loss of Doris. And I pay particular tribute to her and her family. I know her daughter was her consort when she was chair of the council, and that was probably a first as well, that the consort as well as the chair were female. So she struck a blow for women's equality, if you like, and more than. And she'll be sadly missed. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Marshall, do you want to?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I'm one of those who had the great pleasure of knowing Doris, and she was a really fine example of a public servant, and the people that she served were paramount in her life. What I also loved about her was the fact that she was a very no-nonsense person. She didn't do a lot of small talk. If there was a point to be made, she would make it, and she would make it unequivocally. And I really liked her direct approach. It's true to say that if she was in this room now, she would brighten this room up. She would radiate bonhomie and goodwill and a dry humour, which has already been mentioned. The other thing that was so remarkable about her was the fact that she was around when Councillor Cox and I and others came on board, and she was one of those, a leading light, who really created a fine example for us to follow, and a very hard act to follow as well, I may say. But she was always full of encouragement and enthused the younger councillors in a way which few other people could. She really was a huge asset to this council, and she will be missed by an awful lot of people. But I think we're extremely lucky to have known her, and the fact that she touched many people's lives throughout this area. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Yeah, thank you. I knew Doris, but I didn't know Doris well, but I just want to add my words to acknowledge the public service that she gave over many, many years. Councillor John Smith, who sends his apologies tonight, though did know Doris well and worked with her as a councillor over many years when he was a previous councillor. And he spoke with really high regard about Doris and her personality and her contribution. And he also told the story that when he started off as a councillor and he was learning the ropes and he didn't know what was going on, if you asked someone, they used to say, "Ask Doris." And that was the standard response for a while, "Ask Doris." And then him and Doris got to know each other and gave him a lot of support during their time together as councillors. So obviously Doris committed a great deal of her life to our councils and to our city, and I just want to add my thanks to that contribution she's made.
Thank you. Councillor Strachan, I think that's everybody. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. When I was elected in 2009, Doris appointed herself as my buddy and my mentor, and that was very Doris. But she'd looked after me previously in Conservative Party events, but to have her take me under her wing when first elected was very welcome, and it meant that I received the benefit of, firstly, her immense experience, but also her dry wit that other members have already talked about, and her cheeky and occasionally incisive sense of humour. It helped me enormously with navigating what was at the time a rather Byzantine set of committees here at the council, but also with giving me the confidence to engage in debate in this chamber. And it de-stressed it. She was an enabler. She allowed young members like me to really get involved, because this was an age when new councillors, certainly on this side of the chamber, were there to be seen and not heard. We were told to turn up, to shut up, and to vote with the party line. And And so when I ignored all of that and spoke at my very first council meeting, this brought the most rapturous joy from Doris, who very strongly disliked that ethos, and with the characteristic sideways wink told me that she'd done exactly the same at her first council meeting, so I was in very good company. In her 19 years here and many, many more either side of that, she was a true servant of Lichfield. She was ever present at community events. She was incredibly active on behalf of the groups that she supported, and was always willing to offer humorous advice for those that she was involved in. And she really characterized kindness in what she wanted to deliver and how she brought people alongside. Chair, I would say her example of dedication to the role is one for us all, and I, for one, miss her immensely.
Thank you very much. Did I see that Councillor Norman wanted to?
Yes, I'll only say a few words, but just to say that when I used to work for Age Concern, later Age UK South Staffordshire, Doris was a volunteer at Citizens Advice Bureau, and I've just been appointed as a trustee of the Citizens Advice. Then it was great to hear that. At the time we used to exchange various, not stories about cases, but the various problems that people faced mutually for Age UK, for Age Concern, and for Citizen Advice. When you're a kid, you might often get, probably nobody else here, but you may get told, act your age. Well, Doris didn't act her age. And in her case, and I think for most older people, if you're not acting your age, that's okay with me, because that's a compliment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you all very much indeed. It's much appreciated. There's just, I think, a couple more items and this long. I wanted to send best wishes to Councillor Leong on the birth of her child, and also hope that we develop maternity leave arrangements one day in this council. But I've also, I think, sorry, you're just causing trouble. Sorry, how barracking, oh dear. And then finally, I think Councillor Henshaw has asked to speak under this chairs, and I'm going to let him. So.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a truly momentous session of council. And what I would like to do is to propose a vote of best wishes to Councillor Dave Robertson. He has been promoted to higher things with all the frustrations and hopefully satisfaction that he will achieve as our new MP. He served us well in this council, and I think regardless of our party affiliation and loyalty, we wish him all the best for wisdom and for health and for satisfaction as a Member of Parliament for Lichfield.
Thank you very much. I think I've allowed that as, there's some heads being shaken at my discretion, and you're free to agree with it or not, I think. Yeah, Councillor Pullen.
If the motion's been moved, I'll speak on it, if that's okay, Chair. I'll take the opportunity. Councillor Henshaw, I think you also get a microphone.
Sorry.
Is it? Yeah. Can I propose a motion to teach councillors how to use the microphones while I'm up there? Councillor Henshaw, I think I entirely agree with your sentiments. I think regardless of party allegiances, we should all be proud that a member of this chamber is now speaking in another chamber that not only has a local or regional influence, but has a national influence. And I think we could all rightly be proud of that. Councillor Robertson and I disagree on so many things, it's untrue. But I do know that we share a passion for delivering for residents of Lichfield District, and Dave now, of course, for Lichfield constituency as well. Dave isn't here to tell me that I'm lying, so you'll just have to believe this. Dave and I have shared beers over a kitchen table. We've shared many arguments. We've shared many good moments together over the years, and I would count Councillor Robertson as a personal friend, and it gives me on a personal level, whilst clearly it was not the result that I was hoping for. And politics is a funny thing, isn't it? The politics, it was not the result I was hoping for, but I'm very, very pleased for Dave. Dave actually helped me win a £10 bet as well. I just wanted to share this story tonight because I thought it was funny. The bet was that I wasn't able to give Dave a fireman's lift up 4 stairs out the back of the Acorn pub in Lichfield. And I won £10 bet. So Councillor Robertson, thank you so much for enabling me to win that £10, which did go straight back. Yeah, I wasn't in a sling there. It went straight back into the drinking kitty afterwards. My point, Chair, I think, is that whilst we have different political allegiances in this chamber, it is a testament to the good work that we do here that we're able to form personal friendships right across the chamber. And I think all of us together would absolutely join in sending our firm best wishes to Councillor Robertson in his new role as the Lichfield constituency MP.
Yeah, okay. Are you okay? Do you want to say something? Go on then.
Chair, yes, I would like to say something. I'm not going to miss this opportunity, believe me. But I want to pay tribute certainly to Dave, both as a colleague and a friend. He ran the most magnificent campaign along with his agent, Councillor Colin Ball. We had well over 100 volunteers at various stages of the campaign working on our behalf. And during the last week, I think we got about 15,000 leaflets delivered. So when the former MP complains on Lichfield Live and elsewhere in the media that 50% of his leaflets didn't get out, those leaflets on our part were delivered by those volunteers. So where were you folks? Dave, as I said earlier on, is probably just swearing the oath of allegiance now. He will always have Lichfield District Council at his heart. It's where he cut his political teeth. It's where his heart still will be. And I'm delighted now that we've got 2 members of Parliament across this district, because I'd like to congratulate Sarah Edwards as well for retaining her seat after the by-election win last year. We've got 2 MPs who are willing to take our arguments to ministers in the Houses of Parliament. And I really think that's going to be a step change in terms of our relations with members and ministers. So, yes, I'm delighted to speak in favour of the proposal. Thanks,
Right,
Chair.
I think we'll leave it there as informal good wishes, and we're no one's yeah, we'll move on. We're only on, we're still on the sort of go on then.
So I did. Richard got in ahead of me, but I just wanted to just add my congratulations. And as Sue said, Dave certainly did work hard during that campaign. I have to say, I'm slightly envious. I've been seeing Dave's videos and his photos when he's down in Westminster. For someone who stood for Parliament to be MP 4 times, and seeing him having achieved that, but it spurs me on to keep going, and maybe my time next, who knows. But I just want to say that we wish him, on this group, we wish him well. And for one thing for sure, we know with Dave, he will work hard for this constituency. We wish him all the very best.
Thank you all very much. And we can now move on to business. I think we've just got, I know people have got, so we move on to item 6, which is minutes of the overview and scrutiny committee. Can I call on Councillor Norman to move the minutes?
Thank you. I was going to make a joke about being speaker, then I was watching it too long. But anyway, thank you, Chair. I move that the proceedings of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee meeting held on the 6th of June 2024 be received and where necessary approved and adopted. And I hope we get a seconder.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Holland, so seconder. So we're going to take them by minute number then, as usual.
But before I start, the apologies for absence. Before I say that, but just to say that listening to the temporary chaplain earlier on, he did refer to civil service. And just to note, with regard to the difference between government and local authorities, is that local council officers are not members of the civil service, they're not civil servants. The civil servants in Whitehall serve only the cabinet. On this council, as with the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, they serve the whole of the council. I just wanted to make that point because it's apropos of this. So 1, apologies for absence. 2, declaration of interests. 3, minutes of the previous meeting. 4, health matters. 5, notes from task groups. And 6, a review of task
Oh, sorry,
groups.
yeah, sorry, was it item 5, councillor Ray? Yeah, councillor Ray, then councillor Ball.
Yeah, it was just a comment about the task group for the Lichfield City Master Plan, and Councillor Ball and I, we liaised before. It seems a while ago now, before the election kicked off. But I just look forward to having that meeting, because there's some really important issues about the master plan. What is the long-term vision? Not proceeding on the basis where we're selling off parts of the site on a piecemeal basis. There needs to be that overall vision, and how we are going to, as a task group, as a council, overview that development, that crucial development for the city. So I look forward to that meeting happening.
Thank you, councillor Ball. Was that the same? Are you on 5 or 6? 5 or 6?
Thank you, Chair. No, it's not the same thing. Members will know I'm sitting in a slightly different seat tonight. So I've decided to follow an example of the previous occupant and speak as often and as long as possible. So
Jolly good.
starting now. So what I want, Councillor Ray and I have a different view on this thing, which we will explore on the 1st of August at the next task group meeting. But I wanted to suggest a slight amendment to item 6 of the last sentence, that I confirm that I'd agreed on behalf of the task group that the leader and chief executive, I would insert in there, could go to the UK Retail Forum and present the ideas that they shared with me before they went, so that work on the Birmingham Road site could proceed at speed. I shared that with the task group at the last meeting. They were happy that I'd done that and satisfied that I hadn't usurped my powers and had acted properly and correctly. And we will debate it further on the 1st of August. But I just wanted to set the record straight on that at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Trent.
Thank you, Chair. I may have thrown you with getting rid of the beard, but it is me.
No. It's not different.
It was just a quick word on item 6, the review of task groups as well. Where it says about concluding the master plan task group, I had made a point in that meeting about being reassured that the group could reconvene if needed during the project. I accepted absolutely there's no need for meetings for the sake of meetings, but if there were a need during the project, that we could have some reassurance that it would be able to reconvene and be recalled. So I don't know if there's any scope for that minute to be amended to that effect.
I need guidance on that. Oh, we're going to
Chair, I think it says that suspended for the time being at the top of the following page. And I think that addresses the issue. But we can discuss further on the 1st of August.
Okay. Right. So those comments, number 7, I think you're on, Councillor Norman now.
Thank you. If those comments are noted, then it'll be in the full council minutes and that'll be on record if that's what Councillor Trent would like. That's my understanding anyway. Number 7, the productivity plan.
Can I mean, just to show I read them, on question 2, under that number 7, is it that we've got robots discussing planning implications, or is it applications? It would be nice if robots could discuss implications, actually, but I don't. So I think there's the robots were writing the minutes. It's question 2. Yeah, I think it could.
The comments might have been more artistic than you think, really.
Yeah,
but,
no, it might be.
You're probably right. It probably was applications.
Yeah.
Well, it was implications, apparently.
Chair, if it assists my colleague, the chairman of the committee, it was applications. These are computerized entities which are effectively sorting planning documents into the portal far more rapidly than any human ever can, and far more efficiently than any human ever can, so that the humans can actually look at the detail on the planning applications. Applications, not implications. I think that them looking at implications may have implications of its own right.
Okay, right. So no one else. Sorry, Councillor Norman.
Thank you. I did check the minutes, so they must have been changed after I said these were.
I'm sure they were.
Item 8, involving residents in scrutiny. And the final item is item 9, the ONS work programme. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so can we take these minutes as received and adopted? Thank you very much. Next is the meetings of the Planning Committee, 13th of May items. Can I call on Councillor Harvey?
Chair, I move that Thank you, Chair. I move that the proceedings of the Planning Committee held on the 13th of May 2024 be received and where necessary approved and adopted.
Thank you very much. Have a second. Yeah, Councillor Ashton to second.
I so.
Thank you. And then I did the by first page, you know, apart from the routine stuff, the first one is land up Horner Avenue, Bradley, deferred, then the bridge cross carriage, Cannock Road, Chase Terrace. Yeah, Councillor Galvin, then Councillor Woodward. As a comment on the minutes.
Thank you, Chair. People may say I've got new seats, so I'm going to speak as often as I can now as well. I just wanted to say, with regards to the former garage on Bridge Cross Road, I spoke about this, and as someone that spent, you know, my adult life practically working within the NHS as a nurse, I spoke out against the development, not because and I don't believe any of my colleagues on the planning committee of whatever persuasion are against care homes and specialist homes for people with dementia, as was suggested on social media. We voted against this because it was against the town plan. There was a referendum, and I believe, as I think everybody does, if people vote for a referendum for something, whether we believe it or not and agree with it, we should deliver what the people have voted for. I just wanted to make that point.
Okay,
Thank you, Chair.
okay, that's right, but there's the minutes are fine. Yes, yes. Councillor Woodward.
Thanks, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of Councillor Evans, who's ill this evening, and I'm sure we'd all want to send her best wishes for a speedy recovery. But she was going to speak on the neighbourhood plan because she's passionate about that neighbourhood plan. And our referendum in Burnwood on the neighbourhood plan received something, well, I think it was in the region of 90% approval. So Councillor Galvin's absolutely right. We need to make sure that our residents' views during that consultation and the referendum are taken into account. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. They're mentioned, aren't they? And that's why it was refused. Okay. Anything else? Well, then the next one, there's a Maveson Ridware. Land north of Dark Lane, Ulroas, which sounds like anything could happen there, couldn't it? And then sorry, and then there's other things, yes, things in long. So any more comments on the minutes? Okay, so can we take those as received and adopted? Thank you. Item 8 then to the right is membership of cabinet committees, panels and other appointments. I'll call on Councillor Pullen to talk this through.
Thank you, Chair. I'll move that the membership of well, not cabinet, that's really just for noting, but membership of committees, panels and other appointments as per the update that came out today, be moved to put as an FYI, just in case you haven't read that, that is Councillor Holland to join cabinet as cabinet member for the High Street and Economic Development. It puts Tom Marshall as no, that's the next item. What else is there? It moves, that probably moves Mike Wilcox off the Investigatory Disciplinary Committee and moves Tom Marshall onto that committee. Thank you. And it puts Mark Wilford on ONS as well.
Yes, so we're on item 8. Yeah, Councillor Woodward, I'm just checking, yeah, because there's...
Thanks, Chair. I think perhaps at the last council I might have introduced my shadow cabinet, Councillor Ball, Councillor Darren Ennis, Councillor Claire Booker, Councillor Bragger, Councillor Galvin and Councillor Laura Ennis. They have already made approaches to their relevant portfolio holder to speak about the portfolios, but we've had this very late change in cabinet remits. So you'll forgive me if we need a little bit more time to discuss who exactly is shadowing what on those new cabinet portfolios. But I'm glad to welcome all of my colleagues to the front bench.
Thank you. Can I check we haven't got the details of the cabinet. Have we got responsibilities? Oh, they circulated separately. Oh, there they are. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Norman.
Yes, I know it's paper. It would be helpful when you get such late information that it's actually circulated to members in paper form.
Yeah.
You don't all have access to the emails on the way here or whatever. But I'd just like to make some comments about the appointment of Councillor Janet Sylvester Hall. It is a bigger portfolio now that she's looking after than she did before, and I'm just concerned about how will she get on with that. But it's no, it is no criticism of her or any concern I have with her in particular. But I would like to invite her to the next Overview and Scrutiny Committee on the 23rd of July, because there's a question later on from Councillor Rosie Harvey-Coggins, and it's about the progress of the climate change. We've gone through as many cabinet members as we had prime ministers up until Thursday, and I've been a bit soft. I've delayed the first one, then I've delayed my question, the second one, then the third one. I'm not going to delay it anymore. I want the cabinet member to come to Overview and Scrutiny and just set out the reason what the plan is. It has been changed. Now we're talking about spring as opposed to September and some other things. So hopefully she'll accept that invitation. The Overview and Scrutiny will be on the agenda anyway. But the Overview and Scrutiny on the 23rd of July, and the members can then be reassured, because we wanted them, the task group, members can be reassured that progress is being made. And I'm not going to delay it again and again, because of change of personnel and indeed officers. We've had a number of officers as well, so that's also been a problem. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think, well, I'm sure Councillor Sylvester Hall has that in her diary. I think the only things we've got to approve are the committees, aren't they? I think, which is Councillor Warfield to Overview and Scrutiny Committee, replacing Councillor Holland, and Councillor Marshall to the Investigatory and Disciplinary Committee, replacing Councillor Mike Wilcox. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I go second.
So I think we just need to vote on that aspect under item 8. All those in favour? Yeah, thank you. Right. Yeah, then item 9 is the chair and appointment of vice chairs of committee. That there's, yeah, Councillor Pullen.
Again, Chair, thank you. This is to thank Councillor Whaley-Ho for his many years, I'm going to say, as serving on the Audit Committee, both as Chair and Vice Chair. Councillor Whaley-Ho has taken on some additional responsibilities in the day job, and as I frequently say to my councillors, family comes first, then the day job, then the council. So if there are other priorities in the day job that take precedence, then so be it. So, Chair, I'd like to thank Councillor Ho for the work and effort that he's put in as Vice Chair. Thank you, Councillor Ho, and to propose to Council Chair that Councillor Tom Marshall take on the role of Vice Chair of Audit. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Smith. So all those in favour of Councillor Tom Marshall as Vice Chair of the Audit Committee? Yeah. Thank you. Anyone against? No. Okay. So that's gone through then. I think we don't. So we're on to item 10, which is representatives on outside bodies, which is a nomination to as a joint position at the University Hospitals, and then the appointment of the new cabinet member for climate change to the Cannock Chase and Area of Outstanding National Beauty Joint Committee and the Staffordshire Sustainability Board. Councillor Pullen.
Thank you, Chair. And just as an FYI, in case councillors think that have immediately sacked Councillor Cox off his role as a representative to University Hospitals Birmingham after I'd realised that I'd appointed Councillor Cox to that role, it was discovered that our constitution, or the UHB constitution, forbade that because Councillor Cox already has a scrutiny role externally and therefore couldn't serve in that capacity. So I apologise for not reading the University Hospitals Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust's constitution before making that decision, and a slap on the wrist for me. But we need to change that nomination. I understand that Councillor Carol Dean, the Labour leader of Tamworth Borough Council, has been nominated at this point. I'm happy to propose that, but I understand that there may be other nominations in the mix. Secondly, Chair, it's to secondly and thirdly, to Councillor Norman's point, to save us having to change names round all the time for these external bodies, if we just appoint the Cabinet Member for Climate Change to both the AONB and the Staffordshire Sustainability Board, then whoever fills that role, whoever that may be in the coming years, it means we don't have to bring it back to council, because they will be nominated to those boards by virtue of their position rather than by their name. So hopefully this will save us a little bit of administrative work in the coming months. I so propose. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Woodward.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Pullen said he's had a slap on the wrist, and for those who can't see, he's sporting a magnificent sling. So it was more than a slap on the wrist, I think. I'll ask for clarification, if I may, through the monitoring officer, because regarding the appointment of Councillor Carol Dean, while I've no objections in principle, the first thing that caught my eye was this is not a Lichfield District Council representative, and why can't we, as a Lichfield District Council, find our own representative? I mean, it may be that there are protocols and agreements and so on, but I would like to think that we have a Lichfield District Council voice. So I'm going to propose an amendment to one that Councillor Claire Booker acts as our representative, but I'll be guided by the monitoring officer as to whether that's constitutionally appropriate. Thanks.
Councillor Cox knows something about that.
If I may just perhaps clarify, because I obviously got involved in my initial appointment and discovered, and I'm not too sure, obviously, the whereabouts, but it is a joint, why, I don't know, but by the accounts, it was Lichfield and Tamworth. And that was within their protocols. So, of course, it actually not only been told that I couldn't serve because of my commitments at the Staffordshire County Council, but we were also told that it was taking on a responsibility of Tamworth as well. So it could be a member from Lichfield, and that's where we're at. So that was their constitution. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure quite what we're supposed to do, really, but
Chair, can I come back on that?
Yeah.
Please? Because of course, Councillor Booker represents a ward within Tamworth constituency, so has a foot in both of Lichfield and Tamworth. It may be that proposal of a Lichfield member is booted back to us at some point down the line, but I hope members agree with me that let's have a Lichfield District Council representative on this particular trust.
Shall we then have that as a motion that we propose that?
Yeah, as an amendment to,
and then we, but on the, we take it forward and see if it's
Absolutely, yeah,
possible.
thank you.
Okay, so is that amendment? I think that amendment is accepted.
I'm more than happy if Councillor Woodward is proposing that. I'm more than happy to second it, because obviously I felt pretty similar, but obviously was told something different. But if we can provide that, and absolutely happy to second it.
And that is then the nomination of Councillor Booker specifically, right? So all those in favour then of this amendment, yeah. So that's unanimous. That we providing that this is a possibility and is not, against their own protocols, we would propose Councillor Booker as the district council representative. Okay, and we'll can report back about the technicalities of it. Lovely. Thank you very much. I think that's item 10 done. The next one is item 11, which is also, I mean, Councillor Pullen didn't get a leaders sort of, section in this council, but he's he's had a fair go at it, I think. So his agenda item 11 is amendment to the constitution because there've been, I think, attempts to what's the word? Standardise, is that the word? Joint working arrangements on health scrutiny across the county.
Thank you, Chair. That might sum up my life, that he had a go. This item, Chair, as you quite rightly say, this is about regularising the working arrangements for health scrutiny. We know that's, I think sometimes as a district, we struggle to work out our precise place in terms of scrutinising health. I believe that this actually helps put this on a more robust footing, that not only does it allow a district representative to allow the county council health and care overview and scrutiny committee, as we already do today, but it also allows the county council representative to attend the relevant district overview and scrutiny committee meetings in relation to health matters. And I'm sure that's something that the chair of ONS would take the county up on, and hopefully ensure a better way of working between us and the county. And I'd like to put this to council for their approval. Thank you, Chair.
And is there a seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Norman. And then I think there's some comments, Councillor Woodward.
Thanks again, Chair. As a previous Health Scrutiny Committee Chair at Staffordshire County Council before the disastrous appearance of a successor at the Francis inquiry, I'd like to comment, because initially that devolved model was working very well, but in the end it was proved to be ineffective in raising local issues as they should be at county level. I particularly refer to 3.6, the fourth bullet point there. It refers to the county council may ask a district and borough council to carry out scrutiny of an issue that the county council believes is best dealt with at district level. I'd like to see an amendment that says the opposite can happen as well. And where there's a significant issue that we feel at district council needs examination by the whole of the Staffordshire Committee, I'd like to see that included. That would be true cooperation and collaboration on health matters. As far as 3.8 is concerned, I think it was always the case that a county councillor came along to the relevant committee at the district. I certainly remember a particular county councillor coming along to what was the Health, Housing and Communities Committee that we had previously, but it would be useful to have some clarification as to who that's going to be. Councillor Leung is currently carrying a lot of the responsibility for ensuring health matters, significant health matters in our district, are taken up to the county council level. But we do need, I think, more dedicated focus on these issues, which means so much to the people that we represent. As I say, she's done an excellent job, but each district has got a very small voice when it's taken up to the county level. And she's having to work in part in a vacuum, because it's impossible for Councillor Leung to collect all of the health issues together that need proper airing and proper scrutiny across this district. There's a proposal to set up a scrutiny task group for a local health priorities forum, which won't be a sort of regularly scheduled committee, but as particular issues arise across the district, which are often then referred to local councillors to support, hopefully that will address in part some of the gaps in the democratic overview and accountability of our health services. So I don't know whether the leader is able to answer those questions, but hopefully we'd accept some sort of proposal from this council that we are also in a position to refer to the Health Scrutiny Committee at county as they are to us, and also who will be the relevant representative of the county council who comes to the Scrutiny Committee to report. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Woodward. I think it's absolutely right that the council is able to request the county council to review items that are of concern to us as a district. As to whether or not they will then accept that request and investigate, that is clearly a matter for the county council, but I don't see any reason why we ought not to at least make the request of the county council if they so wish to pick that up. There may very well already be a mechanism to do that. I'm sure if there are county councillors who might be sat along my front bench that might wish to assist me in that, then I'm sure they will do so.
I've got councillor Trent, then councillor Cox, then councillor Norman.
Thank you, Chair. I was just after some clarification. I should say generally I welcome this and it's good to
Yeah.
have this arrangement clarified. I just have a question about the draft code at 3.3. It does specify that it will be the chair of each district and borough scrutiny committee that will attend county scrutiny. As Councillor Woodward has said, at the moment it's the deputy chair of ONS that attends, and she's doing a very fine job, in my view, at doing that. So it's just to clarify that that won't be affected, given the wording of 3.3 of the draft code. The other quick bit of clarity I was after was about when you read onto the appendix of the draft code, the FAQs page, there's page 41 and 42 of our pack. It does make pretty clear that scrutiny of local GP services will absolutely be a county scrutiny matter. And just cross-referring to earlier on this evening, we've noted the ONS minutes about setting up of a local health task group, which will report back to our ONS, which I fully support. And I know Councillor Woodward has been an advocate of. I think it is, well, I just want some clarity, some reassurance that that page that I've mentioned, Appendix 1, isn't going to cause us problems when setting up a task group of our own looking at local health issues. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Chair. For information, there is a county councillor representative appointed from the county councillor to sit on health matters, which happens to be Councillor Sylvester Hall. So that is in place. And I have had a message from Councillor Lung today, just trying to clarify whether it'll be myself as the vice chair of that committee or Councillor Sylvester Hall to present the report at scrutiny. So we will have that definitely in place for sure. My point of view is that something that Councillor Trent has said, and it echoes really what Councillor Woodward's saying. I think there is a role in scrutiny within the health in this place. And it's about our district. And I think if there's matters that concern our district, then this authority has every right to call in. What it obviously hasn't got the right is to call in necessarily something that might involve the county, because then that's the county council's scrutiny role. But if it concerns the matter, so if it's, sorry, sir, I don't know, if it's just a county thing that doesn't affect us, then there isn't a role. But if it affects us, then we have every right to scrutinise. So I would certainly welcome scrutiny here on health matters. So, for example, Samuel Johnson, maternity. I don't know whether there is any mileage with the George Bryan unit. I think that has probably gone, but we could certainly be saying, how are our residents being looked after in another place? So I think there is a role. So I support it entirely. Thank you.
Councillor Norman.
Yeah, I'd like an amendment to the code insofar as it's not that important because there is opportunity elsewhere, but in the code at 3.9 B2, the chair of the Overview Scrutiny Committee will be appointed to Staffordshire County Council often Care Overview Scrutiny Committee, and we decided to be the vice chair. So just the change of that slightly, which is the chair of the Overview Scrutiny Committee or nominee will be appointed to Staffordshire County Council Scrutiny Committee. As I say, I just at every meeting, I can just nominate the vice chair as a nominee, but it'd be easier if that was in the code. With regard about what we can do, and what we can't do, I mean, this is small p politics. If we want to do something, we can do it, and then we can just lobby the county, and they can then refer back and say, well, you can't do that. Well, it's too late, too late. The press release has gone out. This is what we say. You can ignore it if you want. But, you know, the idea is actually to work together, not to have the overlap. But we, as you know, from 3.1E, district and borough councils may ask the county council to carry out scrutiny of an issue that is of strategic nature or is county-wide. Now, we may have a situation in our own district where we think has ramifications elsewhere, even if it hasn't hit other people yet. So again, we can ask the county to do that. And if they refuse, well, I don't think that would be the case, but if they refuse, then again, this is where scrutiny can publicise this, that fact. Elsewhere on the Q&A questions, yeah, we can look at GP surgeries and access there. And if the conversation gets a little wider than that, fair enough. Again, once it's out in the public, it's rather difficult for any scrutiny committee to actually say, oh, we're going to ignore that because you're not following the rules. Exactly. Look, it's important that we actually scrutinise health, whether it's at the county level or the district level. And there are plenty of opportunities now for us to do that. But the idea of the code, and I support the code, generally is that we don't have overlapping of that. There's a reference earlier on to something which I'm about to remember, which is, yes, about the task group for health scrutiny. We've discussed this and we're doing that. And then obviously the member from the South Staffordshire can actually attend those meetings, but they'll be on an ad hoc basis. In other words, reflecting what the issues are and not because it's in the diary. I've seen other districts, boroughs, where they have it a health and overuse scrutiny committee, and they're really filling up the agenda with stuff to fill, you know, to get the meeting going. We don't want to do that. We want to concentrate on those issues, I think, that are important to people in Lichfield district, and hopefully we can do that. So I'd like that slight amendment, but it's not that important because substitutes are allowed. And that's what we do here. That's what we've agreed as a council as a whole. And I say my vice chair, as we heard from the members tonight,
So,
do a very good job.
okay, thank you very much. I think that's everybody, isn't it? So the way forward, just to get this clear, because it comes under Staffordshire, but we think we can tinker with it as a yeah, okay, to get these reciprocity and the differences that we've suggested now.
Can I just say for information that this particular document is shared with all authorities throughout Staffordshire.
Yeah.
And we're the last to adopt it.
Yeah, but I'm not clear that we're not quite adopting it. Is that what we're doing? We're tinkering with it a little bit.
Chair, I'd ask Councillor Pullen if he accepts those suggestions that have been made that we relay back to the county council.
Yeah, okay, so we're relaying our, yeah, I think, yeah. Okay, right, thank you. That's, yeah, so we're asking this council to endorse it but feeding back to Staffordshire County Council some suggestions for clarification and change, okay? On that basis, can I ask people who are in favour of that? Yeah, and I think we all are. Well, is anyone against it? Okay, thank you very much. Item 12 then is the updated pay policy statement, and I call on Councillor Pullen to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. This item, Chair, is an annual requirement of the council to publish its pay policy statement. This is principally in place to ensure transparency of how we determine salaries of employees, to provide detail around the level of remuneration to senior managers, and to provide transparency around the relationship between the remuneration of chief officers and those who are not chief officers and the lowest paid staff. And that report is found in the appendix. I'd like to thank the Employment Committee for their scrutiny of this item. And Chair, there's just one item that I'd like to point out, which I think is of particular importance for this council, is that our ambition to employ 8 apprentices has been far exceeded in year, and we now employ 12 apprentices, all within the normal pay scales. which I think, Chair, is an absolute testament to the good work that this council is doing in ensuring that people of all ages and abilities from across this district and beyond are gainfully employed in the good work that our public servants do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And is there a seconder for this? Sorry? Yeah, Councillor Andy Smith is going to second it. And are there any comments? Councillor Ennis.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm glad you mentioned apprenticeships, by the way. I think it's an absolutely brilliant thing, and doing more than we aim to is absolutely brilliant. I'm brand new to the Employment Committee. I attended my first one and I raised a couple of items around apprenticeships at that, and the document was amended to suit it, which is brilliant. And there is a but. One thing I've never liked with apprenticeships, being an apprentice myself and working my way through it, is I don't like the apprentice pay scale. I don't like how apprenticeship wages work. I don't like the idea that somebody at any age in their first year of an apprenticeship can earn £6.40 an hour. I don't think that's a good thing at all. And hopefully something that this council doesn't do. I don't find it a good way to attract skills, especially from older apprentices. I don't think it's a good way to even attract younger apprentices. And I'll give a very, very quick story. When I started my apprenticeship, I lived at home with 4 younger sisters, single mother, and I was on £4 an hour, I think it was back then. But because all of a sudden, at 18, in an apprenticeship, I was the only working adult in that house, the Housing Association decided that then it was a point where I had to start paying the rent. So I was earning £4 an hour, and 60% of my wages instantly was going on rent, and then 20% was going on transport to get to and from work. So I was working, I think I was taking home and keeping £10 a week by doing 60 hours. It was brilliant. And I'd hate to think that that is a barrier that could be created for somebody else that is in the same situation that I was in. So I did ask at the Employment Committee, and I'm going to raise it here again, that I think how we pay our apprentices need looking at. I think if we didn't have apprentices, someone would be doing that job. And if they were a trainee, they'd be paid minimum wage. So I think that is a bare minimum. But I think this is a discussion point that we need to look into more, and something that I will raise again and again at the Employment Committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mears.
Thank you. Good evening, Chair. I was delighted to see how many apprentices Lichfield District Council employ, but I would be very interested to know where they're employed in the business and what roles they've got. This will highlight where we don't have apprentices and where we can further expand on that project to include new people going forward.
Thank you. Is this on a different matter? Yeah, perhaps if you can reply on apprentice.
Thank you, Chair. And Councillor Ennis, entirely take on your point about the pay scales of apprentices. We do pay them according to our existing pay scales. We don't pay them the bare minimum that you can get away with, or some that employers get away with paying. We pay them well above that according to our pay scales, which I think aligns to the point that you're making. And Councillor Mears, we have the concept within Lichfield District Council of our apprentices taking on a business analyst role, which means they can sit across multiple different departments, which we believe gives them the best possible start to work in local government, to ensure that they get an understanding and experience in multiple different departments across the organisation, and then perhaps take on a specialism later on in their career. Thank you, Chair.
If I can ask, because, sorry, in our little pay scale bit down here, why have we got the apprenticeship rate in there as part of our pay scale if we don't use that pay scale? So.
Yeah, it's page, yeah, page 45. But it's not, is that for comparison? Mm-hmm. Bottom left hand.
I'll confirm with Councillor Ennis on that, but at the we do say very clearly in the report that apprentices are paid according to our pay scales, not to the apprenticeship. But I can confirm that in writing to Councillor Ennis.
Yeah, is this the same matter? Go on then.
Yeah, I feel, Chair, that I'm not exercising my ambition. This is only the second time I've risen today, but I may be able to help Councillor Pullen and Councillor Ennis. On page 43, item 7, lowest paid employees. The lowest paid people employed under contract of employment with Lichfield District Council would be employed full-time. The equivalent salary set at the minimum pay point in use within the grading structure, which suggests, and the council's taken the decision to supplement any employee to match the foundation living wage. I think it should read the living foundation living wage, so that's a correction. This is now £12 per hour. So I think that, to me, suggests that all our staff are paid at least £12 an hour.
But then it does say the next two lines suggest the opposite. Well,
Yeah.
you know, it's none of my
So
business.
it certainly does need to be
Yeah.
examined. And I would argue that they should all be on the living wage, foundation living wage, because due to Councillor Robertson's persistence before he moved to London, and I don't see it as a promotion, and certainly under the new Labour government, a lot of stuff is going to be delegated down to us again. So we will have real role to play in the future under new devolution of powers to local authorities, which we look forward to exercising. So I think I want to commend Councillor Robertson in his absence for pushing the council to implement that with Councillor Strachan's support, so that we now are a certified living wage employer, and we should be paying all our staff the minimum, the living wage as defined by the Living Wage Foundation.
Well,
Thank you.
can we sort of perhaps just decide that we just need clarification of whether it's a wording issue or a substantive issue?
Thank you, Chair. Just to confirm for everybody, every single employee, both for Lichfield District Council and Lichfield West Midlands Traded Services, is paid as a minimum the real living wage. What you have in the paper here are the pay scales that we have and that exist in the organisation, but there's no relation to what some people are actually paid. I will make sure, Chair, as we take this away, before it is put on the website, that we tidy up the language to make sure it's clear for everybody's benefit. Thank you.
There is certainly a contradiction on page 43. Yeah. Sorry, Councillor Trent, you had another aspect of this.
Thank you, Chair. A separate point. I noticed that Appendix 1 to the draft policy statement, it lists the hourly wages for coaches, the bottom left-hand corner. Unless I've missed it, it doesn't seem to be picked up in the agenda report or the policy statement. I just wondered if there's any scope for more information on coaches within the report.
Oh, the page, who the coaches are.
I'll confirm that in writing, Chair. Thank you.
Right, I think we need to take that away. Right. Councillor Ball.
Yes, I'm rising to the challenge, Chair, much to your displeasure,
Yeah,
I
you
can
can miss
see. On page 38, I know that the essential car use allowance is paid to 70 employees, which by my calculation roughly is just about 25% of our staff. And I wonder how many of those cars are gas guzzling diesel cars or petrol cars, and whether it's fit that in a time of climate emergency we continue to give that kind of money to staff. And it does say that it won't be on any future employees terms and conditions of employment, which I think is a good thing. But I think it's worth reviewing those 70 to check that they really are deemed to be essential car users, especially if they're using gas guzzling diesel or petrol cars.
We can.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, after moving to our hybrid approach, no doubt we will saving thousands upon thousands of miles in vehicles every year. But I think whilst we ought to ensure, of course, as we trust the header paid service to do, that these people are essential car users, and that's entirely within the header paid service's remit to determine that. I think there's a point here that I'm sure Councillor Marshall would agree with me wholeheartedly, that whilst the ambition of net zero is incredibly important and remains a policy of this council, at the same time, we must absolutely recognise that our employees have bills to pay, mouths to feed, children to feed, mortgages to pay, perhaps slightly increased mortgages to pay now. And we absolutely should ensure that our staff are being remunerated in a proper way that enables them to carry out their job functions. What I would not ever want to do is disincentivise them from that, purely down to us trying to pretend that we're trying to reduce our carbon emissions. We should pay them well, remunerate them well, and obviously phase it out over the years to come, but certainly not right now.
Okay, so with some parts of clarification and massive improvement in public transport, so people don't need to use cars, we're going to, can we approve this? Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you. Item 13 is the questions, which were circulated by email. I've read the emails, but the first one was Councillor Woodward to the Cabinet Member for Visitor Economy, Ecology and Climate Change. And the response has been emailed to us and to Councillor Woodward. So do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Chair, I do. I'm just contrasting the reply from the Cabinet Member for Visitor Economy, Ecology and Climate Change to the one in response to Councillor Marshall's question from the Chair of Overview and Scrutiny Committee. I mean, this is a fairly minimal and thin response, and I'm disappointed there wasn't more detail put in this. I wasn't aware of the Visitor Economy Network until a fellow councillor here actually alerted me to the fact that Burntwood had no representation whatsoever on this visitor engagement network. That's been now remedied, but I was certainly quite surprised to see some of the detail in this emerging strategy. I don't see why councillors should be left until the strategy is pretty much developed to be considered and consulted on their views for something that's quite significant to us as a district council. I'd like her to publish the list of consultees to all councillors so that we can see who our decisions are being devolved to. And I'd like her to fix a firm and early date when councillors will be consulted, because call me old-fashioned, but I think strategies that properly belong to this council should be debated, considered and agreed by councillors. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. You want Councillor Sylvester Hall?
Absolutely. I have no issue whatsoever with sharing the consultees. I'm very proud of the work that we've done so far, engaging with those people who are delivering as part of what we're trying to do as the District Council for those as individual agencies, organisations, charities as well. And there's in excess of about 50 of them. So I thought it was absolutely paramount that we get, and we build that up. That's something that has evolved. Invitations were sent out to all parties locally who would have a vested interest in them. And I'm really pleased that at the last meeting, a representative of Burntwood Town Council was there, but all of the information has been shared, not least with also the City Council, and a representative of the City Council has been there from the offset. So I would say that the actual strategy itself has evolved into a fairly significant piece of work now that we have a buy-in from those people who are intended to be delivering it. And for me, that was a critical point of what we needed to do. That information will be shared with councillors imminently, and I look forward to getting responses from those to make sure that it is encompassing what we're aiming to do across the wider district of both Lichfield, Burntwood and the villages also.
Thank you. And the next question is from Councillor Harvey Coggins, also to the Cabinet Member for Visitor Economy, Ecology and Climate Change. And Councillor Harvey Coggins, have you got a supplementary? Question.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd just like to say that I am very disappointed to see that the Climate Summit has been put back once again. This is not the first time that has happened. And I don't know, I'm just wondering how serious this council actually takes the matter of climate change. Thank you.
If you want to, Councillor Sylvester Hall.
Absolutely. So the question there was about how serious we take it. I think that a lot of that has been covered in the reply that was put over. It's certainly my intention, having and in fact I take on board Councillor Norman's concern about the depth and the involvement in this particular project. Yeah, it wasn't that long since I picked up pedestrianisation that I attended an overview and scrutiny committee meeting. And depending on the alternative commitment that's already in the diary, I would certainly want to take you up on that offer. As with anything that I am asked to pick up responsibility for, I'll give it my 100%. And certainly I will look forward to meeting with the shadow as well. So we've got that information that we can to go forwards. And equally, what is also planned in the meantime, which has been shared, and hopefully in the longer term, have more opportunity to prepare for the Climate Change Summit. Thank you.
Thank you. Then Councillor Marshall, brave man, ask Councillor Norman a question. And you have a supplementary following.
Chair, it's not a supplementary question. I just wish to thank the Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny for what is a very comprehensive answer, and I very much appreciate the fact that you've put an awful lot of work into that, Councillor Norman. So thank you for that. Obviously, as the arch heretic within Lichfield District Council of carbon net zero, I very much appreciate the gist of the answer, but I still remain my heretical stance to the principle of carbon net zero. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right, I think that's then, I think, the end of the public agenda. We now come to a confidential item of business, which requires me to read out the following. That as publicity would be prejudicial to the public interest by reason of the confidential nature of the business to be transacted, I have to ask the public and press to be excluded from the meeting for the following items of business, which would involve the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act of 1972.